Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 291 of the RRBG podcast. This episode is also brought to you by Killcliff. My friends over at Killcliff make the best energy drink you can buy in the market today. Clean energy, none of that crap that they put in Monster or any of those Red Bulls. No sugar, just clean power for all the grind you're going to have to put in today. And if you're not grinding today and you just want to relax, they also have CBD drinks to help you recover from any injuries you may have, any kind of inflammation. Maybe you went a little too hard at the gym. CBD drink will get you right back on track. Go to their website, killcliff.com. Check out all their different flavors. My personal favorite Ignite drink is the Cherry Limeade. And in the CBD category, you have to try the Joe Rogan Special. It's the Flaming Joe Pineapple with Jalapeno. It's not that spicy. You just get a little bit of a kick at the end. It's delicious. Go to killcliff.com and tell them that RRBG sent you. This episode is also brought to you by our good friends at Saints Joints. Go to saintsjoints.com to check out all the options that they have. They have these amazing packages with pre-roll joints, which will have pre-rolls from either side of the strain spectrum, either indica or sativa, and they even have multi-strain collections. Pick up one of their amazing Book of Saints. They currently have 2 volumes, volume 2 being a special Halloween edition. It looks like the Necronomicon. It's amazing. They're currently available in Washington and Oregon and will soon be available in California. Go to saintsjoints.com and tell them that RRBG sent you. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Thunderking Coffee. Thunderking provides organic, air-roasted coffee straight out of Costa Mesa, California. It's seriously some of the best coffee I've ever had. My personal favorite is the Positive Morning Attitude. I order 2 pounds of this almost every 2 weeks because I just can't get enough. But they also have bottled cold brew. They have their special California Christmas peppermint cold brew out right now. You can order it from their website. So go to thunderkingcoffee.com and check it out. Support small, independent businesses, people. In this episode, it's the return of David Davidson. It's his 3rd time on the show. Revocation's got a new album coming out called Netherheaven, September 9th on Metal Blade. Make sure to pre-order that now. We talk about that album. We talk about the lyrical theme behind the album. We talk about the artistic theme behind the album. We talked a little bit about religion and politics. Not too much, nothing too crazy. We talked about touring and what it's like now post-pandemic. And I asked him a couple of silly questions like what's his favorite food and what's his favorite smell. It was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure to follow him at David.Davidson on social media. Make sure to follow Revocation at Revocation on all the things. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the little bell notification here on the video so that you can get notifications whenever we put new stuff out and we can fight the algorithm together. And then finally, if you get a chance, please check out our Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/RRBG and help support the podcast so we can keep growing. Cheers. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the RRBG podcast. Our guest today has been on the show now 3 times. And I think it's just you and Josh Barnett that have been on the show 3 times.
Returning champ.
Returning champ. Dave Davidson, thank you for being on the show again, brother. How are you?
Thanks for having me, man. I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm good. Enjoying the weekend. I finally am in a new position work-wise where I have weekends again, which was missing before. And so I'm enjoying 2 days off a week. I've never had that.
That's important.
Dude, I'm excited. I saw the video for the new single, Diabolical Majesty. The song is a fucking ripper, banger. You guys always don't disappoint. I've noticed that much.
Thank you. Yeah, we try to we try to keep people happy.
So the video is you guys performing in what looks like an abandoned church with a lot of skateboarding going on.
Yeah.
Are you a big skateboarder?
No, I'm not, but Brett is.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Was that all his inspiration, his request?
It was kind of like a combination. So like I knew I wanted to try to film the video like in a church, since the new album is hell themed, and I just thought it would be cool to do something in like kind of a creepy looking church and light it all cool or whatever. But that obviously is easier said than done. It's like the budget for renting out a church. So like they're used to like charging people, I think, like wedding prices, which is, very expensive.
Yeah.
And then you have to like basically like convince them to let a blasphemous death metal band perform there, which is also no easy task. So I was kind of ready to give up on the idea. And then when we were out on tour with Cannibal Corpse, Brett sort of just struck up a conversation with a guy at the St. Louis show. And I think he maybe skated or knew some people in the skate scene, and they just kind of started bonding over that. And he was like, oh yeah, actually, like some friends of mine, and he might even be affiliated with himself, but basically he knew people that bought like this sort of like rundown, dilapidated church and turned it into like a skate park. And Brett was like showing me pictures of it, and I was like, oh my God, we gotta like get this guy's contact info and like do a music video there if we can. So yeah, we ended up, well, actually, my Good Eye Productions, Dave Brodsky and Allie, they ended up talking with him, and it was pretty much a done deal. So it all came together in like the 11th hour, which I guess is how some of this stuff happens in the music biz.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, honestly, when I think of you guys, I don't think of skateboarding per se, but it all makes sense now that I got the story and the background behind it. I got, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And actually that church was huge. So we filmed like 3 music videos there. So there's like 2 more still to come. Not in the skate park area, but like there was like a creepy basement with these like pillars and columns and stuff like down there. So we lit that all cool. And then there was another part of the church that like didn't have any graffiti and didn't have obviously any like the skate ramps. It was more like just kind of like weird like altar rooms with like stained glass that we filmed another video in. So yeah, it was great that we were able to get 3 different sort of looks out of one location.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Expect more videos coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, you knocked it all out in one go. That's that's the way to do it. Productive as hell. Mm-hmm. So the new album, Netherheaven, you said it's hell-based. Tell me a little bit about it. Like, what got you to go into that realm? I mean, you've always obviously had, satanic type vibe to it, even though like the last album was more space, cosmic horror. There's still always, obviously, I think in metal, just in general, there's that layer of Satan, devil music. Right. But, why lean into it for this one?
I don't know, probably sort of a variety of reasons. I mean, I think we all grew up on diabolical death metal. So this is sort of maybe like, our ode to that, right? Like, I mean, some bands make their entire careers out of putting satanic records out every single time. So I think we wanted to kind of double down on the devil on this one and really just kind of go full, head on into those topics. And I think also from a kind of zooming out and looking at the macro situation, like in this country and also kind of around the world, like even though trends, I think, in terms of the populace in general, people are becoming more agnostic or leaning more towards atheism in terms of polling. Like I think in terms of where power is being consolidated, there's a lot of right-wing evangelical, Christian sort of extremist groups that are kind of gaining political power more and more, especially in this country. I mean, if we look at what just happened with the Supreme Court, for example, and just things sort of moving more in that direction. So I felt like it was topical. I mean, maybe for some period of time, Christianity wasn't as much of an existential threat, and maybe was a little bit of like a punching bag in the metal sort of sphere for a while. But I don't know. I just sort of felt compelled to write about it when I see what was happening, for the last 4 years politically, and just sort of the merger of politics and an extremist kind of right-wing Christian ideology. It really kind of concerned me, and it still does. So I felt like it was a very topical thing to write about.
Absolutely, man. It's kind of scary because, you know, it started to feel for a bit like we were moving past religious nuts, you know, here in the US at least. Like I felt like, you know, like you said, more people were kind of not waking up. That's a weird thing to say, but just kind of like realizing like, okay, you know, that seems a little antiquated, a little old. You know, I'm not saying nobody should have faith or belief or whatever. That's up to you. But ultimately, it felt like the world was kind of moving past that. Like, okay, that you could have your religion at home or whatever, but it doesn't interfere with our life. And then all of a sudden now we've got, you know, shit like this. Like you said, the Roe v. Wade thing is it's purely religious. Like that's all it is. It's just a bunch of people that, you know, I have friends that I talk to on my WhatsApp from, you know, Cubans, and they're all Republican. And, you know, whenever I bring up abortion, they would go crazy with me. Like, oh, that's you know, why would you do that? Like, that's not the correct thing to do. It's not normal. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how are there people still thinking this way? You know? And it's just weird that we're still dealing with this. It's 2022. Why are we still dealing with religious nuts taking over politics?
Yeah. It, you know, there's that quote, you know, the price of democracy is eternal vigilance, right? And I think that just because it doesn't, you don't see it kind of every day, like it's a slow kind of trickle, right? You know, it's not like you kind of wake up one day and all of a sudden it's a completely radically different country. I mean, these are steps that are taken over time, and a lot of, you know, more kind of extremist right-wing groups, they kind of play the long game, right? And they kind of infiltrate different sectors of government, you know, whether it's through funding, or influence and power. And yeah, so like I said, it was deeply concerning to me. And like you said, like I felt like we were moving in my opinion, sort of in the right direction. You know, I have no problem if people want to, you know, worship or, you know, go to church or, you know, find whatever spirituality they want. But like you said, when it starts to infiltrate government and it starts to actually infringe upon the freedoms of everybody, that's when I have like a big, you know, problem with it. So, and you know, it's not just me, obviously, right? It's, you know, I think well over half the country supported Roe v. Wade. So now you've got a situation where, you know, the will of the people is actually being undermined in general. So, yeah, and it's, you know, concerning to me, and yeah, like I said, I just felt sort of compelled to talk about it in the lyrics. It's not like every single song on the new record is politically charged. You know, some are just more sort of general musings on the occult, or the last song on the record, for example, is inspired by Dante's Inferno. So I use other imagery as well. It's Strange and Eternal, another song on the record that's more inspired by the works of Robert Chambers, who wrote The King in Yellow. So I definitely kind of talk about things that are more maybe in a sort of fantasy realm or coming from like literature. So it's not just every single song is a political slant, but yeah, like I said, overall it's got that diabolical, hellish theme to it that I think fits the mood of the music really well.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I don't know. I've done some internal reflecting during the pandemic and after. I mean, we spoke like right at the beginning of the pandemic. That was the last time you were on. It was like 2 years ago. And, you know, it was still I still felt I was depressed, and I think we were both kind of in a darker place, because of what was going on, obviously. But I wasn't like, we weren't deep into the pandemic. Now we've moved kind of past it, but I spent a lot of time, also just fucking around and eating mushrooms and having these realizations, like, we are kind
Bellas or Porcinis or
Porcinis, yes, Porcinis. Oh, right. But I felt like I had one trip specifically where I went outside, like the streets were empty and the sun was coming down, and it was this weird, like, hot wind passing by, and I'm like, we are in hell. I think that, you know, I don't believe in the hell and heaven thing, but if there was an inspiration for the writing, this is it. This is where we're at, you know?
Yeah.
And it's scary to think that we're still battling that in our everyday lives. Like, why can't we move past that? Like, why is it acceptable that you see a report that the church and all the pedophiles and all that shit, and we're just kind of like, that sucks. But anyway, let's keep praying. Like, what are you talking about? It's obviously not working.
Right.
I don't know, man. It's freaky. So what happens though? Let me ask your thoughts on what if when we pass, you come to the realization that the Bible was real and like we fucked up, like you and I fucked up. Like, oh no. What do you feel? What would you feel about that?
Well, I try to live my life, helping others and, creating music and art that has an emotional impact on people. So, if I'm going to be, sentenced to hell for writing a record, then I guess there'll probably be cooler people in hell anyway.
It'll be a party anyway, right? It's just I always found
all my favorite musicians will be there, so we'll
have a rager. I'll bring the beer.
Perfect.
I've always thought how silly it is that Satanism is believing in yourself. Like, it never really, those two things, like, it just never made sense to me when people bring that up. It's like, I read the Anton LaVey book. I didn't read the whole thing, and I read it in high school, so I don't remember a lot of details. But what I do remember from it is that, believe in yourself kind of rhetoric. Right. And how is that, like, why is that satanic? Like, having faith in yourself.
Right.
Aren't we created in God's image? Shouldn't we? It just doesn't, none of it makes sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's obviously like an attempt to demonize any ideologies that aren't Christianity, right? In any kind of religious extremism, there's sort of like an attempt to be like, okay, our religion is the one true religion, right? So, an ideology based more on self-sovereignty is obviously a threat.
That's so weird. It's so weird to me. And I'm not saying and also for anybody that's listening and watching and thinking like, oh, he's just talking out of his ass. Like, I grew up in a very strict religious upbringing where I went to a school where I couldn't even listen to music. You know what I mean? Like, I remember my first purchase of music was not Downward Spiral, Pretty Hate Machine. That was my first purchase of music that I was able to buy. I bought a cassette. I went to the store as I was like 13 or something. I finally got some money, and I was like, I'm going to do exactly the opposite of what I've been told. You know what I mean? Like, don't listen to the satanic music. Well, I'm going to go straight for I bought that. I bought Danzig. I bought a bunch of, metal albums. I bought one of those little suitcases for the cassette tapes, and I just filled it up with all the metal I could find. And but it was really strict. Like, I used to get beat by nuns. I got kicked out actually in 7th grade. I think it was. Yeah, 7th grade. I got kicked out because I finally just couldn't take it anymore. They were talking some nonsense about dinosaurs not being real, and I don't know. I started laughing uncontrollably on the floor. Like, I fell out of my chair laughing, and the nuns just kept beating me, and I just kept laughing. And they called my mom. They're like, "Your son's possessed. We're going to have to do an exorcism." And my mom's like, "No, I'm picking him up from school. Right. We're taking him home." And then she just took me out of the whole system. So, but I've been there. I studied it. It's crazy to say that. Like, I went to school and they gave me books on religion. Like, it's like a subject that you have to study when you go to these schools. So
I went to Catholic school as well.
Yeah.
Where I was actually in Boston.
In Boston?
Yeah. I was Jesus in the school play, believe it or not.
I could see it.
I was crucified in front of my mom. It was, it's a weird feeling, but
music video idea. There you go. But speaking of crucifying, your new jersey is like, I keep going back and forth. Like, I don't wear jerseys. I'm not a sporty guy. I'm also not a hardcore dude that walks around in cargo shorts and jerseys, but I kind of want it.
You're thinking about it.
I'm thinking about it because it's Jesus crucified and then Baphomet kind of just slam dunking behind him. Have you guys gotten any like hate mail because of that yet?
Yeah, it's causing quite a stir. I mean, the majority of people are like, "Holy shit, this is awesome!" And I think the jersey's just like, I mean, it's well done. Like the artist that did it did a great job.
Yeah,
but I just think it's like fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like it's real. Like if you're like taking that like super seriously, then like I don't know, you just like don't know how to have fun, I guess. Because it's just, to me, it's a riot. Yeah. But yeah, no, there's definitely some comments and some bickering in the comment section, but which is funny because like it's not like the shirt, the jersey, which is like so over the top, and I think like I said, pretty hilarious. That's getting more hate than like the Diabolical Majesty track, which is. I mean, it's just super brutal and like in your face and, a little bit, but I guess like a visual image is maybe like more visceral and probably most people aren't taking the time to like read the lyrics anyway. If you're like, I don't know, like an Orthodox. Yeah,
people don't have time to read. What are you talking about? What do you read?
Right. But yeah, it ruffled some feathers, but it's like, you don't have to buy the jersey if you don't like it.
I think I might end up buying the jersey, dude.
I don't know. Do it, man.
I don't like wearing jerseys. I'm not that guy, but fuck, it's so good.
Right. Gotta do it.
And I love you guys' just overall merch is always so great. Like I still rock my Revocation hat. Anytime I don't want to shave my head, I'm wearing my Revocation hat.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, it's I've gotten the good fortune to work with a lot of really talented artists over the years, and that list just keeps on growing. So yeah, I take a lot of pride in the merch, and I mean even just the quality of it. Like just giving our merch company a shout out, like Night Shift merch with Kareem and the whole team there, Babyface. They do such a great job with the quality of the shirt. So it's crazy how detailed some of these shirts can be nowadays with like screen printing, and I think there's like a new like digital press. Like we just played in the Outback in Australia, and we had a couple of shirts, new designs out there, and like like there's like a new way of like screen printing. I guess it's more like a digital kind of screen. Just looks like fucking crisp as hell. So I like that people can buy a T-shirt and feel like proud to
wear
represent it. Because that for me is like, I mean, I pretty much all I own is metal shirts. And anytime I get like a new shirt, I'm like, oh hell yeah! I like look at the print and I get like super stoked on it. So
yeah, it's funny. My wife pointed out that my aesthetics are black jeans, black band T-shirt, or completely ridiculous, over the top like color vomit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, those are the only two. There's no in between. I'm never wearing like a blue shirt.
There's no gray area. It's one or the other. Yeah.
Either extreme '90s neon vomit or pure black.
Right. Yeah, I'm starting to mix it up. I'm getting some white T-shirts up in the mix.
Oh.
Rocking some different kicks.
Oh no! Are you gonna turn religious on me now? Are you gonna go that should be the shift. Next album, all heavenly, all
right.
holy,
We're going full.
Everybody in white.
Probably, we probably end up tapping into a whole new market. Yeah,
mosh for Jesus.
Right. Yeah, white suits on stage, and I'll have like a pulpit.
Oh my God! Speaking of the artists you mentioned, the art on the new album. I mean, the art in all of the albums is fantastic, but the new album you got Paolo Girardi, who's I don't know him personally, but he looks like a psycho on his Instagram page. He's always shirtless, holding the paintings. How'd you guys get paired up with him? Like, I mean, do you know him personally?
No, don't know him personally. Never met him, anything like that. I just reached out to him and said, like, hey man, I'm a big fan of your artwork. I think he's got such a unique style. No one looks like no one does anything like him. So I always appreciate artists that have their own voice. I mean, I think Tom Strom's the same way. Like he's got a very unique style. So it was great working with Tom all these years, and we've actually worked with Tom on a few different designs for this upcoming album, like in terms of merch, and we're actually doing a couple cool. We did a hot sauce, and Tom did the
label.
The label for that, and I don't know if I can say it out loud yet, but we're in talks of working on a beer with a company.
I was going to ask you about that. I'm like, when the fuck are we getting a Revo beer? But
right, I think it's coming. I saw a sketch for the label that Tom did the other day, and it looks fucking awesome.
Nice.
But I don't want to fully disclose all the info of that yet.
I'm upset that you didn't reach out to me first, by the way. But anyway, let's move on.
Sure. But yeah, getting back to Paulo, I just hit him up. I sent him a message on Instagram. I was like, yo, dude, your shit's awesome. Like, what's your schedule like? And thankfully, he had time to work on the album cover. I gave him a bunch of different. I think I gave him like the song titles. I might have given him some lyrics, and then I gave him a bunch of different examples of art that I really like. So everything from Hieronymus Bosch paintings to sort of modern death or classic death metal album covers. And obviously I gave him the theme of the record and just kind of let him do his thing. And yeah, I think he delivered like a real masterpiece. I mean, he's like a death metal Renaissance painter or something. I mean, it's all oil paint. There's nothing digital about it, which no offense to digital artists, it's cool as hell as well. But I think it's cool when someone, really approaches like an album cover from like a totally like old school angle. I really appreciate that. And I think some of those, I hope that old kind of or older craft never dies out and is always, cause just nothing looks like that, right? It just has such a, I don't know,
visceral.
To me, like, Yeah, it's visceral. You can sort of feel the emotion on the canvas from the artist, and he definitely has a twisted mind because the shit he comes up with is just so fucked and interesting to look at and makes me feel just a myriad of emotions. Actually, speaking of Hieronymus Bosch, I screenshotted one little creature from Hieronymus Bosch's like famous. Painting that's like the triptych of like heaven and purgatory and hell, and yeah, he actually stuck that character like in the melee of the artwork. So this weird kind of fish looking reptilian creature with like crazy like winged ears from the Bosch painting that he did his own little representation of. So there's a little bit of a nod to Renaissance painting and Bosch and.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and dude, the guy, he looks scary. I'll just say, I feel like he paints naked, and he just puts the pants on for the picture. You know what I mean?
He puts the pants on for the gram.
Yeah. It's just, and he looks so angry too. But yeah, I mean, are you? I don't know if he keeps the original painting. Did he offer to sell it to you, or like how does that work out?
Yeah, right now. I don't have quite the funds, like a ton of disposable income, but I think, maybe after this next tour or something like that, I'm definitely considering purchasing that piece and having it as part of my collection because I own a few Tom Strom originals and some other pieces of artwork as well. So I think it'd be awesome to have the
original painting. Yeah, dude. You got to get that like classically framed, the whole thing. Yep. You got to do it right. That's awesome. Speaking of tour, you got a headlining tour in Europe with Goatwhore?
Yeah, and we're going out in the U.S. too.
Yeah, you're doing the U.S. with Kirisun?
Christian.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Christian. I met those dudes. I'm trying to remember where I met them. I think it was at Chain Reaction here in Anaheim. I forgot they were playing with. I think they were playing with Nails, or maybe they weren't playing, but they were just hanging out in the back.
Okay.
But I remember meeting those dudes. They were super nice guys. But headlining tours, man, like that's huge, and especially with Goatwhore. Like, I mean, I know Goatwhore is. Have you guys been around longer than Goatwhore? I don't remember. I know it's not about tenure anymore, but it feels like Goatwhore's been around.
Goatwhore have been around for longer than us, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, we our headliner for the fall, that's coming up September 9th. That's actually when the record gets released, so it'll be cool. We're coming like right out the gate with a tour. I think we drop a music video that day, and then the record comes out. So we got a whole lot of stuff in the month of September. Moving into October, it's a full U.S. tour, and we do some different parts of Canada as well. It's got us headlining Christian, who also have a new record out. Alluvial, who put a record out semi-recently, and then this really awesome newer band called Inoculation. I think they're on Maggot Stomp Records, and it's like kind of technical, crazy shit. So I think it's going to be like a really great death metal package. It's got like a little bit of something for everyone. And then the winter tour in Europe, our headliner, it's got Goat Horror again. Alluvial is going to be on that one, and Creeping Death. So we've got some really awesome tours coming up, and then hopefully maybe we'll go out and do something where we support someone, just to kind of keep the momentum going.
Yeah, you got to come to the West Coast, man. I mean, I saw you recently, but I don't get tired of hanging out with you guys.
Oh yeah,
saw you
we're doing a bunch of dates on the West Coast on that in that fall run. So definitely be on the lookout.
Nice. Yeah, I saw you with Cannibal, which is now, I believe, the second time I've seen you with Cannibal, which is great. It's always a good hang. Yeah. But now you're in a position that's a little different from some of the other folks I've been talking to, because some of the other musicians I've talked to are just now going on tour for the first time since the pandemic. But you guys have already got a tour under your belt post-pandemic. How can you compare that? Like what's it like now compared to how it was before? Do you feel that there's more energy in the room, or do you feel that there's more apprehension in the room?
Oh, well, I mean, on the Cannibal tour, I think that was just a perfect storm across the board. I mean, you have Cannibal Corpse, who are a massive band to begin with, who had a record that they put out during the pandemic that they didn't get a chance to tour on at all. So I think there was a lot of pent-up demand to see Cannibal live. Then you got Whitechapel, and obviously they're headliners in their own right. We were 2 of 4, and then Shadow of Intent is another. I mean, they've been around for a few years now, but they've got like a lot of heat, a lot of hype. So I think every single band on that tour, just can really draw. So there was a ton of energy in the room. I think people were so pent up, and it was sort of one of the first real big metal tours back. I felt a really palpable level of energy in the room every single night. I mean, kids were going nuts. All the bands, did really well in merch, and it just seemed like everyone was just down to come out, throw down, have a good time, drink a million beers, get in the pit, just sort of throw caution to the wind. And it was kind of, I think, a cathartic release for not only the fans, but for everybody on the tour, the bands, the crew. I mean, it was just a good time all around. It was probably one of the funnest tours I've ever done. Maybe part of that was because we were so pent up for those last couple years. But yeah, it just felt good, and it was cool too because I saw a lot of younger new faces in the crowd. I think. I mean, those formative years, right? When you're 16, 15, 16, 17, even 18. I mean, when you're getting into music for the first time, that's the shit. Those are the memories that you take with you for the rest of your life. I was actually kind of, a little bit worried for the next generation for a minute. I'm like, oh man, kids are cooped up in their homes and kind of only experiencing music and shows via these streams. Online, streams and stuff like that, which are great. And I think it's created a whole new kind of almost genre of entertainment, right? But to me, there's no substitute for a live show. I mean, being in the room, feeling that energy, feeling the fucking volume, right? You're not going to get that at home. Yeah. So, and just, people bumping into each other in the mosh pit and the energy and the sweat and the stage dives and, all that shit. You're not going to get that in your living room. So, to me, there's no substitute for that. I mean, even not even a non-metal show. Seeing jazz live, I think is always hits me and moves me on an emotional level different than listening to it on recording. I mean, I don't know. I just think music is meant to be experienced in that live setting. So I was kind of worried for the next generation of not only metal musicians, but or metal fans, but just music fans in general. Are we kind of robbing people of this magical experience that can, if I wasn't exposed to metal and went to those shows at a young age, who knows, we might not be talking to each other right now. Right. Yeah. I could have gone in a totally different direction. So, I think it's so important to have those experiences. And it was cool to see, those younger, fresh faces in the crowd where it was probably their first metal show ever. And, who knows, those might be the same people that, keep coming back 10, 20, 30, 40 years later. Maybe they start bringing their kids to the metal show, and they say, oh, my first show was Cannibal Corpse, Whitechapel, Revocation, and Shadow of Intent, back in 2021. And like, I never looked back. Right. So that's the kind of shit that I live for. And yeah, just seeing the reactions on these kids' faces when we were playing, and just all the bands, it was really a cathartic release, I think, for so many people.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. There's this, I've spoken about it before, but there's this something that it's not tangible. We can't really explain it or show you, but there's just a ethereal connection in the band, just amongst the band themselves when they're performing, because you're communicating kind of telepathically most of the time when you're up there. Because like if somebody's off or something happens, you guys just kind of look at each other. You kind of have a communication just looking at each other. But also just the amount of energy that you're putting out towards the crowd and how they receive it. Like there's no substitute to being there. So, and I'm a fan. I have a VR headset. I love VR, all that stuff. I love technology, but people are having this conversation that, the future of entertainment is the metaverse and VR stuff, but there's no way they're going to be able to replicate that energy that you receive from being there. Because the volume thing, I get it too. But, if you're wearing good headphones, like maybe we can get to that. But it's not about the volume.
You're going to hear it here, but you're not going to feel it. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by volume. Like you could crank headphones up to the point where it's fucking deafening, right? But feeling the air getting pushed from the amps or the PA or that crack of that snare drum or the thud of the kick drum, and it just like hits you in the fucking chest, right? There's a frequency and a reverberation that happens. I mean, I'm not like a physicist or anything like that, but I got to imagine that it's hitting you on a different. It's like hitting your whole limbic system, rather than just only up here and vibrating the small whatever they're called, the hairs in your eardrum that are picking up the vibrations of sound, like, but actually fucking physically feeling that. Coupled with the sight and everything like that, like, yeah, of course, I bet, virtual reality is going to get more and more impressive, but, our brains evolved in this reality, and like, I mean, I can still tell the difference, right, between like a screen, a human being on a screen and a human being, up on stage in person. So I don't know. Who knows? I guess if it really does, if they figure out a way to,
I don't think they can, dude. Like I know that they
replicate it. They probably have to do some Matrix shit where they like literally like plug a computer chip into your brain or something like that. And by that point, who knows what the human race is going to look like?
Well, I mean, it's not that far off. Elon's doing that Neuralink bullshit that's scaring the fuck out of me. But like, even if they were to come up with like a haptic suit that you wear, it's not the same. It's still not the same, Right. I mean, I'll talk about like, for example, the band Static X. The only reason I listened to that band is because I saw them live, and I was like, what the fuck is this guy with his spiky hair? Like, and I know that metalheads kind of like, oh, that music's simple, it's bullshit, whatever. But I watched them, and they were so fucking loud that my shirt was vibrating with the beat, And I was like, oh, what the fuck is this? And whatever you think about the music, it was just being like, that's how they made me a fan, because I was like, this is insane. I've never stood in front of a band and my shirt's shaking, So it is something that can completely change how you perceive the music or how you enjoy it. If you're there at a live show. I don't know. I'm not excited about the Neuralink. I mean, it's interesting, but I think I'm too old now. I think I'm past that. I'm going to be the grandpa that doesn't understand Wi-Fi, when it comes to that.
Right. Yeah, your grandkids will be like, playing on like, Mars or something like that. And you'll be trying to work the remote of the future TV.
Exactly. So real quick, Gargoyle.
Yes.
Are you doing anything with that? Is that something that after all this run that you got coming up?
Yeah, Gargoyle is we're writing right now. We got some things in the works. Obviously, Revocation is taking up the majority of my time and mental bandwidth. But some of the demos that Luke has sent me so far have been fucking mind-blowing. So I'm really excited to start working on the new Gargoyle record, probably in the downtime between tours. So I got to kind of get my ass in gear and start working on that. But yeah, it's definitely still a thing. Hopefully we'll get to do some shows ourselves and play some of this material live. I mean, unfortunately, it was just really poor timing when we put out that self-titled record. I think that Gargoyle record is, I mean, I'm biased, right? Because I wrote half the songs and I'm playing the record, but I think it's a really special record, and unfortunately, I don't think it got really its day in the sun because of all the other shit that was going on. I mean, you've got like you're trying to launch a new band and you can't tour, and even press was kind of weird. It was like people weren't going into the office, and I think a lot of places were kind of like trimming down their coverage on certain things. So, yeah. Definitely check out the self-titled Gargoyle record on Season of Mist if you haven't checked it out. But yeah, we're for sure working on new material, and it's really something. So I can't wait to dive into that once I get a little bit of downtime from the Revocation cycle.
Nice. Very exciting. Something came back to me. I wanted to bring it up when we were talking about the live experiences. Now that, what, I've been kind of changing my life, I guess, as I've turned 40, and I got to start worrying about things differently. Like now I got to go get the whole finger up the butt thing that they tell men have to do when they're 40. I haven't done it yet, but I'm like, well, how far can I push it back before I have to make that appointment? But I've been thinking about things differently, man. And, my perspective, whenever I went to a show, it was a party, right? And I would usually either meet up with the band beforehand or after, and we would get annihilated. And I would get annihilated drunk during the show, or high. Like I would just smoke some weed and drink like 7 beers and then go enjoy the show. But lately I've been noticing it's starting, I guess, and I think it's because of the pandemic too. When I do that now, the shows don't feel real to me. Like the next day I'm like, I don't remember the visceralness, that vibration. I don't remember it. And I'm starting to realize that I think I want to enjoy shows and live performances now completely sober, and then just maybe drink after, what I mean? Because I want to be present, now that I've seen what it's like living without it for 2 years, without being able to go to shows. And I want to make sure I enjoy every single one, and when you get blasted, you just don't, I don't know, you just get distracted. I think you get lost in your head. I don't know. I just needed to bring that
rock
up.
And roll beer guys not drinking beer at the shows anymore.
I am after. We'll do it after. We'll hang out in the back. So since you've been here 3 times, I wanted to ask a couple of like just silly questions that have never been asked before, because I'm trying not to ask the same things or cover the same topics. And so I made a list of just like really silly shit. Number 1 was, what if the Bible was right? But I already asked that too. And number 2 was, when are we doing a Revocation beer, which you've already also addressed. But what's your biggest, what would you say is your biggest fear? What scares you the most? Well,
I think like I kind of worry about sort of like the existential threats that are sort of coming down the pipeline, right? So I worry about the environment. I worry about, just sort of like the destabilization of, democracies and things like that. So I guess they're kind of more like bigger picture things. I feel like I live like a fulfilled life, and I'm very fortunate. What I've gotten to, accomplish in life. So I guess, a lot of my concerns are more things like, where's the world going to be in like 10, 20 years? Like, am I going to be able to do what I love to do because of, other extraneous factors out there that maybe, prevent that? I mean, the pandemic, right? I mean, like I couldn't go on tour for 2 years. Like, what if something like that happens again? Or, with the we've got a tour in Europe coming up. There's a war in Russia and Ukraine, and I'm not trying to say like, oh, woe is me, my tour's going to get canceled. I mean, it's absolutely heartbreaking what's happening in Ukraine and like the atrocities of war in general. But you know, are events like that going to become more commonplace as the environment changes and there's more and more sort of destabilization that's brought from that, and like just what is, and then of course, you know, the existential kind of threat of technology, right? Will technology be mankind's savior, or will it enslave us either literally or figuratively, right? I mean, some might say we're already figuratively enslaved by technology. I mean, in terms of our phones and you know how tight our like our attention span is, you know, correlated with that, and like how much time we're spending in the digital world versus reality. So yeah, those are sort of things that I worry about. I mean, I try not to sort of let them keep me up at night because, you know, it's not necessarily something that's, I mean, at the end of the day, it's something that's going to affect everybody, and we're all going to be in the same boat, and we're all going to have to either figure it out or perish. But yeah, things like that concern me for sure. Okay.
Now, you don't have like an irrational fear? Like I have an irrational fear of the ocean. I guess maybe it's not that irrational. The ocean's kind of mysterious.
Right.
But I don't fuck with the ocean.
Not at all. You don't even go in for a dip.
I'll as long as it's I'll go as long as it's waist high. I can go waist high. But once it starts going up to my neck, I'm turning around.
Now, will you go waist deep and then like kind of submerge from there?
I'll dip in and get my head wet.
Well, so you're not that afraid of the ocean. Like,
I'll tell you what happened. I ate some porcinis, and I went for a swim in the ocean, and I met Poseidon. And it wasn't like a person or anything. It was just kind of like a vague vibrational thing, and then I heard a voice underwater telling me to turn around. And I was like, yes, sir. And I just turned around and fucking left. So since that day, I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to, what's the point? I'm not going to, why? I have no business. I'm not a scuba diver. I have no business in the ocean. So do you have something?
How do you feel about like a pool though? Will you go?
Oh, pool's fine. As long as I could see, the surroundings of it. Like, okay, it ends there. I'm good. I don't think there's just a shark in the pool like some people. That's an irrational fear. I don't want to go in the deep end of the pool because there might be a shark. It's like, come on, that's crazy. But do you have something like that? Like heights, maybe, or I don't know, fear of cucumbers, like cats do.
No. I mean, I've never. I've never gone like skydiving or anything like that. So that's, Okay. But I mean, like I'll be high up on something. I think like skydiving is more like that's obviously like the deeper end of the pool of something like that. So that wouldn't be like the first on my list to like wanna do. But I fly in planes, a decent amount for work. So it's not like, the fear of flying or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm pretty good. It's more like, climate change, Terminators.
It's more like over. Reality is what's scary to I'm just kidding. The world that we live in is scary.
Right. But hey, I guess you got to be in tune with that if you want to, write lyrics for a death metal band.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, with the skydiving thing, I'm not scared of doing it in terms of the height or whatever. The only fear I do have of skydiving would be the equipment failure. That's it.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to be the one guy that's like the parachute like got fucked up or whatever, and then you're like, Yeah,
and I'm a heavy set guy too, so just my fear of like, what's the weight limit, and like, do I have to go with a dude strapped to my back? Like, what's the deal here? So, all right, favorite smell. I know this is a weird one, but I've always been fascinated. I feel like I have a very good nose. It's very apparent when I do like beer things where I can smell certain things. And I'm fascinated with smells. Like one of my favorite movies is Perfume. I don't know if you've seen that movie yet.
No.
Oh, I highly recommend it. Some dude gets obsessed with making perfume. It's an old like Renaissance period type of thing. He gets obsessed with smells and perfumes and making perfumes. And then he's like, what if we could make a perfume that is so intoxicating that, it just makes people have sex. Like it's just so much that it just go crazy. And he ends up figuring it out. I don't want to spoil the movie, but he ends up figuring it out. Like the movie ends with like a giant orgy. It's great. But but the in-between is a little creepy. I'm not going to spoil that part, but it's definitely worth a watch. But do you have like a favorite thing? Like is there a smell that you get that you're like, oh, that reminds me of grandma, or that reminds me of my childhood?
I mean, I got a lot of favorite smells, you know, like, I mean, I think weed smells awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know, just something about like a fresh bag of like just dank chronic that just, I don't know. Even if I'm not smoking it, like I'm just like, oh, this just smells good. I think like, I don't know, like a freshly baked like cinnamon roll, like that's a good fucking smell right there. If I'm like cooking, like, I mean, obviously, you know, you throw butter and olive oil and garlic in a pan. I mean, that's going to be quite a intoxicating aroma right there. So yeah, we'll go like, you know, like a garlic.
Mostly food.
Yeah, mostly food, but weed, you know.
Yeah.
I guess weed can be food depending on how
if you can
trippy
cook it,
you want to get with it.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, flowers smell nice, you know.
Have you ever been to the Bellagio in Vegas?
The
flower garden that they have there?
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about like the buffet.
No. No, the Bellagio.
I have been to the buffet, I'm pretty sure, in the Bellagio.
They have a flower garden that's like the smell is insane.
Really?
It's just all flowers. Yeah.
I went to a botanical like biodome in Singapore when we were on tour there one time, and that was awesome. But yeah, I mean, I love a botanical garden. Here's a random one for you, and then we'll move on. So the Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 CDs, the booklet for that, I don't know what ink they used or whatever, but there was something about the smell of that booklet. And I think like listening to the music, and I would read the lyrics, and I would like, I don't know, just like smell the booklet as a kid. I don't know, like probably it was weird, but like there was just something about that booklet that like smelled. Maybe it was like Geffen albums in general or whatever label that they were on. Maybe they all had that scent. Like I don't think like Axl Rose was like perfuming the you know the fucking.
I picture him now like in an assembly line, just
the booklets or anything like that. But there's something about that booklet. And it brings me back to like a very, I mean, because they say like smell is the strongest sense tied to memory, right? So it just brings me back to like being a kid, like getting more into guitar for the first time and just spending hours like playing over that record and listening to that record, those two records. Because yeah, they both had the same smell. Yeah, so that'll be like my you know, something that you can't consume at all.
Well, that's what I was looking for.
You got to take a bunch of really good chronic and roll it up in the booklet of the Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion 1 record.
And then smoke that.
Smoke that, and then go take a dip in the ocean.
Interesting. Yeah, that's what I was looking for, really. That's the one that I was looking for. For me, I recently discovered it's weird, but Tiger Balm. Like it's a different smell than like any of the other like muscle rubber ointments or whatever, icy hot. It's a different smell. And the only reason I I like it is because it reminds me of my grandmother. That's like, I smell them like, she was covered in that shit for most of her old life. So that's one. But I agree with you that the smell of ink, booklets, fresh printed like booklets or comic books, even just the smell of like fresh ink on paper was also something I really enjoy. I ended up working at a print shop for years, so like it just kind of became part of my life, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Food wise, since you mentioned food, you know that typical like those memes you see on the internet. They give you 4 different foods, and one of them has to go away forever. What would you say if you had to get rid of a type of food forever? What would you get rid of? Like, you know, between tacos, pizza, Mexican, Italian, you know, what's your go-tos?
It's tough.
I know you're a big food guy too.
Yeah,
you like good food.
It's tough. I mean, I love barbecue, but like, I feel like I could like I don't eat it all the time. It's more of like an infrequent thing for me anyway. Like when I eat it, I'm like, oh my God, this is good. You definitely kind of like feel the feel the weight after it, I think. So, you know, you don't like necessarily feel the best after you eat like a shit ton of barbecue.
You gotta go take a nap.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, maybe barbecue, only because it's not something that I eat all the time. And I feel like I could like, I've eaten like incredible barbecue over the years, and it's if I never had it again, I could
You'd be fine.
Savor the memories.
So, okay, the age-old conversation, who has the best barbecue? Is it Texas? Is it, you know, Louisiana, or not Louisiana, Kentucky? Like, what's South Carolina, North Carolina? Who's got the best?
I don't know. I guess it just kind of depends, you know, because like Texas, you know, I think about like those big beef ribs or, you know, brisket. With the Carolinas, right? You know, you think about like the whole hog, pulled pork. It just kind of depends. I mean, probably like, I don't know, maybe Texas just per capita probably has like the best shit going on. But you got like barbecue spots like kind of popping up like all over the place now. I mean, and I think sort of like maybe some of like the secret and the magic is out there for people to kind of pick up on. I mean, you know, you got to
thanks YouTube
and what's that? Right,
Thanks,
YouTube or whatever, yeah, or just maybe even smoker, you know, commercial smokers being more like kind of readily available to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say Texas, but you know, there's probably someone in fucking Oregon that's got some little hole in the wall joint that is probably mind blowing, you know.
Yeah. Two more questions and we'll be wrapped up. Venue that you haven't performed at that you want to perform at? Is there like a historic venue that kind of pops in your head? Yeah,
I'd love to play at Red Rocks.
Nice. Yes. Yeah, dude, that venue blew my mind when I saw it. I went to see Opeth and Gojira and Devin Townsend there, and wow. Yeah, and you get a trophy afterwards.
Oh, do you? That's cool.
Yeah, when you perform there, they give you a little, like a piece of a rock, and it has your name on it. It's pretty cool. Sick. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, get it going. But you know, you got to book it like 4 years in advance. It's insane.
Really?
Yeah, their line or their queue, if you will, of artists that want to perform there is nuts. So you do have to sign up like 2-3 years ahead if you want to play there.
Yeah, Red Rocks for sure.
Is there one in Europe that maybe you haven't? Like I don't even know the historic sites out there, but
I'm sure there's so many in Europe, but they're just maybe like not, you know, I don't really know what I'm missing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I saw Animals as Leaders play at like a castle out in the like an open air castle. So I was like, that's kind of cool. I would like to play there.
Well, we've never played Wacken before, so I'd love to play or like Bloodstock. So I'd love to like play either of those fests. You know, I mean, I know those aren't like venues. I mean,
those are festivals.
It's more of like a destination festival. So that would be pretty legendary.
Did you do Hellfest? I mean, I feel like every band did Hellfest. Yeah.
Hellfest is great.
Yeah. It was like a week long, right? It had every band.
Well, we didn't play it this year, but we played it like a few years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the recent one was like 7 days, like 1,000 bands. Like, what the fuck? Who has 7 days to go to shows? Like, I don't know. Anyway, and then finally, this is the silliest of the questions. Do you have a number of money that would make you quit music? Like, is there a number that they can offer you for you to never play again?
Like never like play with Revocation again, or like never play music?
Music.
Can I play like anonymously or no? Like, can I at least like?
No, you have to surrender all your gear, bro. That's it.
Like, I can't even play in private.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, in private, but you can't put it out. You can't put out solo albums on Bandcamp or any of that shit. You're done.
Right. And like, what if I can't play for anybody else? Like, I can't play a show.
Maybe your like wife, like you're in close family,
now you're
in your house.
You know.
All right. Well, just nobody, like the fans will not get any more music from you. If you're doing it in your house with your wife or whatever, that's fine. But I don't want you to put any more music out. How much money do you need?
I don't.
The retirement number. The retirement number.
I don't know if I could. I mean, the fact that, like, if I just like couldn't play ever, like if we just say like literally like you can't pick up the guitar or any other
instrument. Buying all your instruments from you with that money.
Right, and I just can't, like, I'll explode if I like play a guitar ever again. There wouldn't be I couldn't do that for a sum of money. Any number?
That's good. That's the correct answer, by the way.
Yeah. But if it was like, no more
Revocation only. How about that?
Revocation only? Oh,
$50? Wait, you're breaking up a little bit. Did I lose you? You're frozen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm here still.
Okay, there you go. Now you're back.
Yeah.
So $50, no more Revocation. I'm just
sure.
No, but is there a number for Revocation? Like, would you stop doing that if there was a certain, like, here's $100 million? You can.
Yeah, maybe you're gonna give me $100 million to stop playing with Revocation. Like, I'll take it.
Oh, sorry,
because then I'll just write a Revocation record and just call it something else. You know what I mean?
There you go. Okay.
It'll be like Revocation with like a K or something, or like a umlaut over like the O or something.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, dude, thanks again, for coming on here for the third time. I miss hanging out with you more often. I feel like before the pandemic, we were able to do it more. Now it's just been once, but we'll see each other soon, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody that's watching and listening, please pre-order Netherheaven. Comes out September 9th. Is there a specific, is there a preferred place where they could pre-order it for you that you get the most amount of money?
So like you can, it depends on where you're at. So like, I think it's pretty much just metalblade.com/revocation, I think is the link that has all the other links. So like, if you're in the UK, it takes you to our UK store. If you're in, Europe in general, it'll take you to our Europe store for, vinyl and shirts. Empiricon is our merch company in Europe. I think they're going to put some new designs up on their web store. And then, for I would assume probably the majority of your listeners are based in the US. So if you want, merch from our official merch store, including CDs, including vinyl, and then, that jersey that you're on the fence about buying, you can get all that shit from Night Shift merch. So there's a lot of different places you can pick stuff up, but sort of our main North American store, where you can pre-order the record and pick up t-shirts and all that shit is, and our new hot sauce, is through Night Shift merch.
Nice. Awesome. Since you mentioned it, shout out. I've recently discovered that I have quite a large fan base in Brazil and Mexico. Gracias. Shout out to you guys. That's wild. And there's some people in Sweden also that are big. And I think that's just because I've had a few Swedish bands on, so they're kind of picking up on it. But shout out to them. Anyway, follow Dave. What's your Instagram, your social of choice?
Sure. Yeah. My Instagram is David.Davidson. So I keep it real simple.
David Davidson. And Revocation
David.Davidson.
David.Davidson. And then Revocation is just Revocation everywhere else. But yeah, pick up the Super Diabolical jersey. Pick up the album Netherheaven, which is awesome. The song, go check out the song Diabolical Majesty, which is great. I can't wait to hear the rest of the album, dude. I'm sure I'll get it in an email soon from Seasons of Mist. Or is it Metal Blade or Seasons?
Metal Blade.
Metal Blade also sends me stuff, so I'll probably get it soon. But thank you, dude. We'll see each other soon.
Sounds good, man. Take care, brother.
Later, man. Peace.
Later.